All right, everybody. I hope everyone had a phenomenal weekend. Enjoy it while you can. It seems like we might be running out of weekends. We might be running out of time. It really seems like we are that much closer to World War III. And finally, the mainstream media is really pushing that agenda. But you also have independent media that is backing everything up to show that the end of times have never been closer. We're going to be taking a look at quite a few international things, but we're going to start off, of course, with Canadian things. We've got Justin Trudeau, who recently went to the Montreal Pride, which I have pulled up right now. He's never looked happier than when he is at a Pride festival. Kind of strange. I mean, you'll never see Justin Trudeau smiling like that when he was, with his kids or with his wife and kids. It's just very, very, very strange. Even when he's at work doing his job, never smiles like that. So kind of bizarre, but nonetheless, we're going to be taking a look at a lot of protests that are breaking out across Canada, crime rates, and so on and so forth, and an update in the polls. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Sorry I'm not on camera again. I am away with my family, but I'll be back very, very soon in the coming days. I know everyone probably misses my pretty face, but don't worry, I am still here. Before we get into it, I want to encourage everyone to smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And I do want to mention the importance of making sure how prepared you are with your emergency preparedness, having, food ready to go, MREs, having first aid kits ready to go, but also not necessarily just protecting yourself in the real world, also protecting yourself online, which is the perfect segue into today's sponsor. I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Private Internet Access. We have teamed up and we are offering my audience 83% off by using code SUNSHINE, which can be linked down in the description or the pinned comment below. We're living in a world of censorship, and Justin Trudeau is at the forefront of this race. Canadians are being censored left, right, and center, which is why you have to protect yourself with a VPN, such as Private Internet Access. What a VPN does is it encrypts your information so that while you're browsing online, you're going to different websites, your information, your personal data is not shared with these massive corporations. It's almost like putting a cloak over yourself. And the best possible way that I like going about this is using the cloak, such as Private Internet Access. Even when it comes to getting the news here in Canada, there's an insane level of censorship. You can't even get Canadian news on Facebook, for crying out loud. Above and beyond the news, if you want to get different content on streaming platforms such as Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, because a lot of these corporations, they geo-lock content, such as in Canada, you can only watch Canadian Netflix. But with Private Internet Access, you can bypass that and you can watch American Netflix, UK Netflix. It's really an interesting thing, and it unlocks a whole new world of content out there. The best part about it is that you're not just restricted to doing that from a computer or a tablet. You can do that from your phone, and you can have a whole lot of devices linked to your Private Internet Access account, which is incredible. Private Internet Access is not only user-friendly, it's extremely affordable, and it is the best way of saying F you to the government. You can get 83% off of Private Internet Access by using the link down in the description or the pinned comment below. Thank you, Private Internet Access, for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into it. So here are the polls. Looks like Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives went up from 212 projected seats to 214. Nice little leap forward in the right direction. Bottom line, a 181, top end at 234. We're getting there, folks. We are getting there. And by getting there, I mean we're that much closer to the next election. But reminder that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives only need 172 seats not to win as Prime Minister, but that's for a majority government, so that them can do whatever they want to do, whatever Pierre wants to do, the Conservative Party wants to do, which is very, very good. And that's what we're going to need to, get Canada back on track. Justin Trudeau did also go up in the polls somehow. He went from 69 to 70, so nothing really to worry about there. Probably from his Pride appearances, but nonetheless, he's still well below everybody, where he needs to be, right? He's trailing behind, and there's reasons to believe that even the Bloc, or maybe even potentially NDP, might get more more votes, at least a popular vote projection. You could see Jagmeet somehow leapfrog over Justin Trudeau. Jagmeet went down, it looks like. He's at 20 projected seats, so nothing really to be concerned about there. And then, of course, 99% likelihood across the board for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives of winning the most seats and of winning a majority government, which is what we want to see, folks. I can't reiterate that enough. I personally, along with many other millions of Canadians, would absolutely love to see a Conservative majority. And then even the Abacus polls here, you have Conservatives at 43%. They have a massive, massive leap above and beyond anyone else. So that's looking very, very good. And just so you know, this is what Quebec looks like. The Conservatives are doing so well in Quebec that Abacus poll, in that Abacus poll, is that there's a Conservative seat on the island, which is hilarious. And I mean, it's just going to show that Pierre Poilievre is sweeping the nation from coast to coast to coast. He's doing a phenomenal, phenomenal job. And all of that is going to pick up very, very soon when they appear in Parliament in just about a month from now. This article here is gaining a lot of attention. This is from the Globe and Mail, and it talks about how the Canadian dream is on life support. Now, a lot of people, I mean, there's a reason to argue that the Canadian dream is gone. It's not on life support. It can't be revived. But I am optimistic, along with many other people. Let me know down in the comments if you are optimistic that the Canadian dream can be brought back. But this article has almost 500,000 views in 24 hours. Very, very insane here. And it covers everything from the violation of the social contract on immigration, which is huge, and it's unavoidable. And you're told by crazy Karens, right, that you are racist for talking about it. You're told by the mainstream media that you're racist for talking about it. Most Canadians, most people here in Canada have never had an issue and still don't have an issue with immigration, just how immigration once was. What we do have an issue with, though, is how outrageous immigration has become, how unfiltered it is. I mean, there have been terrorists that have been living here at our expense, taxpayers' dime. We've been paying terrorists to live here, which is insane. So obviously there is a massive loophole in our immigration system to the point where everybody is noticing it. And if you talk about it, you're crazy, you're racist. But I'm here to remind you guys that no, you are not crazy, you are not racist to talk about the immigration issue. So I highly recommend you go check out this full post here and read through everything because it is phenomenal. A lot of attention. It has 250,000 views as it stands at the time of this recording. This is by Marty Up North, who has a very sizable X account here with almost 100,000 followers. And he is saying that I want Danielle Smith gone. My goal is to bring 500 people to the AGM and vote against her. And a lot of people are actually in support of this. A lot of people are saying that she was a plant. And now look, before you click off the video, before you decide to downvote this, I have been a big Danielle Smith supporter, and same with Pierre Poilievre. And this is the thing about politics, is it's so polarizing, where politicians could do 99 things that you agree with, and if they do one other thing that you don't agree with, it depends on the severity of that thing. Now, I'm not saying Danielle Smith has the 99 things that I or other conservatives agree with, but what she has done recently is a pretty big thing that is turning a lot of heads, and it's making a lot of people, a lot of Albertans, very, very concerned. Let's take a look at some of these video clips here because she seems to be extremely pro-immigration. She wants to double Alberta's population within the next 5 or 10 years, and it seems like she wants to do that vis-a-vis immigration, which has a lot of people going, whoa, we have an immigration problem, Danielle. What exactly are you talking about? But let's take a look at the video here.
That's why I've said, let's have an aggressive target to double our population. I'm going to put this out there because I've said that in the throne speech. So I want people to understand how important that is. We have to be that bastion of liberty, and people are going to want to come here, and we want to embrace them, and we want to be able to build this place out so that we can actually have the political clout in Alberta that we deserve. Because right now, we're being treated as a junior partner by Ottawa. And if we end up with the strongest economy, We'll double our
So
oil production.
You want to go from rough numbers, you probably know the number better than me, 4.7 million, roughly?
We're almost at 5 million.
Okay.
5 million.
So you want to double it to 10 million?
Yep, I do. That's why I've said.
And this is why a lot of people recently are just saying, whoa, pump the brakes here, Danielle. What is going on? That's not the only time she's really talked about this. You have this other Rebel News clip here. Let's take a look at this one.
The overall numbers of immigration are determined by the federal government. And I would say that we have the ability, based on what I've seen with our housing starts, they've increased 56% year over year. We have the ability to build 40,000 homes this year, which should be able to accommodate about 100,000 people, which is amazing. But we did have 200,000 people join us last year. And I think you're seeing the premiers all asking the same thing of the federal government is, number one, we've got to match the pace of newcomers with the pace of being able to build housing, build schools, provide health care. And right now there's a mismatch. I think the government's realized that on international students. But that's one of the things that you'll see all of the premiers saying is that we've got to get a better balance here. And then in addition to that, if there are a large number of people coming in who require supports, the federal government has to help with those supports. That was the point that
All right, so here is the very big question. What the hell is going on, Danielle Smith? And are you part of this kind of globalist agenda, or are these just taken out of context? But I think people deserve some answers here. And just let me know down in the comments if you would like a little bit more clarity and a little bit more answers from Danielle Smith. Next up, we have this statue here where a Kingston man has been arrested for throwing paint on the statue of Fidel Castro that was recently dedicated in Ottawa. And somehow this post got over 120,000 views, which is very crazy because I don't know, or I've never heard of a statue of Fidel Castro here in Canada, but it seems like a lot of people are turning their heads going, huh, I didn't even know that we had one of these. When did Justin buy this? And was it because Justin Trudeau wanted to see his father on a park bench every single day? Let me know what you guys think down below. All right, this other post here is gaining a lot of attention where somebody on X said, what specific region of your country would you be willing to give up? And someone said Brampton. And that is a pretty valid answer. It seems like almost 500,000 people have seen this, and a lot of people are agreeing with it. But let me know down in the video comments what place in Canada you would be willing to give up. And now, speaking of giving up here, it seems like the police in Canada have just totally given up. This protest is making its way online, where supporters of a terrorist group are marching past the old DND-HQ, which is the Department of National Defense, the place where our military brass are stationed at in Ottawa. Lovely. And that's, of course, shared by Brian Lilly from the Toronto Sun. Let's take a look at the video clip. So here's the crazy thing. There are thousands of people that go to these protests every single time they happen, and they are happening every single week for almost a year, and every single weekend for almost a year, and not one single Canadian flag can be seen anywhere in this sea of people, which is absolutely insane. And I'm not the only person to acknowledge this. You have one of the top comments here saying, how many Canadian flags do you see? I'm glad they take national pride in their everyday lives as Canadian citizens. And then Brian Lilly replies, in Canadian flags, what is that? And that just seems to be the ongoing narrative or rhetoric here in Canada, is these protests that are about other countries people just don't seem to care about Canada. And those that do care about Canada, like you and I, we are labeled as these crazy conspiracy nut jobs, these crazy small fringe minority, whatever the hell the government wants to call us. And we're just patriotic. We love our land. We love our country. We love its law abiding citizens. And we are thrown to the curb while people like this that are so proud of their other nations, so proud of other places across Canada, are glorified by the mainstream media and by our own government. So very, very bizarre. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about these protests. Then, of course, there's starting to be a little bit of resistance here by the police. So the police now, for the first time, caught on camera. This was caught by Karima Saad on X. This might be the first time I have seen police ask protesters to remove their face coverings or leave the demonstration. And if you're wondering the same thing as this person right here, did they honor the request? LOL, no, they did not. They left. They did not want to remove their face. And to be honest, this is something that a lot of people agree with. Let me know if you agree or disagree and why. But a lot of people are on board with the idea that if you're going to protest, if you're going to be part of lawful assembly, which is your right here in Canada, you shouldn't be allowed to cover your face. Now, this is highly controversial because, I mean, that means that there is no anonymity when you're out in public protesting, but that begs the question, should you ever be able to be anonymous when you're out in public, when you're protesting, or should you not? So let me know what you guys think down below. And now we're shifting a little bit away from Canada, so to speak, and we're looking at what's happening overseas. Now, I posted this comment here on my X account, and I said, can someone tell me who the bad guys are in this Israel and Gaza conflict? It is all still very confusing. And it's getting a good amount of attention, right? It's getting thousands of views increasingly every single hour. And you can see the comments. There's 132 comments and 78 likes. So everybody is rushing to the comments to say what they want to say. And I mean, feel free to go do that as well. My X account is linked down below in the description. Here is where it gets very crazy. You would think that Canada has historically been pro-Israel, right? Our government has very much been pro-Israel, even though the government is allowing all of these pro-Palestine protests to take place. But then you look at stuff like this of our liberal MPs saying Canada condemns Israel's attack on a school in Gaza that killed Palestinian civilians, including children who were seeking refuge. International humanitarian law must be upheld to protect civilians, which, of course, there are so many innocent people on both sides that are being affected from this war. You have innocent civilians from Israel that are dying, being slaughtered, right? Then you have people in Gaza, all the children that are being killed as from all the bombs that have happened, all the strikes that have happened, and it's atrocious what's happening on both sides. But normally in a war, you have, from our perspective, a good side and a bad side, and this is the war. This ongoing conflict is. This is why it's so controversial, is there's kind of atrocities seemingly that are happening on both sides, and it's becoming very difficult, I guess, through the muddy waters to figure out who is good and who is bad. Now, I'm not saying that Hamas is good by any means. I think anybody with a brain and common sense can realize that Hamas is literally, not only are they actually listed as a terrorist organization and entity that's recognized by most of the world, but they hide in basements of schools, of hospitals. That's absolutely disgusting to do that. Even Justin Trudeau's mistress has rushed to X to make a post where Canada condemns the Israeli strike that killed Palestinian civilians sheltering at a school in Gaza, including children. Israel must uphold international humanitarian law. Hamas must stop putting civilians' lives in danger. You go, Melanie Jolie, Justin Trudeau's mistress. You tell them. I think that Hamas actually considered releasing or moving their bases away from civilians because of this singular post on X, because of Justin Trudeau's mistress. She has cured the terrorist regime in Gaza single-handedly from this post. I say sarcastically. An immediate ceasefire is desperately needed alongside the release of hostages. And I mean, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. But what is going on, further developments, is earlier today, the Israeli Air Force carried out several strikes on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, including 2 terrorists on a motorcycle. And this is just increasing the tensions across the world. So what does this mean? Well, it means that Hezbollah is attacking Israel with drone strikes. They're doing tit for tat. And Iran, several days ago, did say on the global stage that they are going to be launching nuclear weapons on Israel. And Iran said that, and that has not happened yet. Now, Iran has taken a bit of a pause because the United States did step in and say, hold up, everybody. Russia said, whoa, let's get all of our people out of Lebanon. China said the same thing. Canada has removed all of their diplomats from those areas. And so it just seems like there's this bit of a cold war. Now, there is a tit for tat between Israel and Hezbollah right now, but for the most part, nobody has pressed their nuclear button. And the key word is yet. So the Toronto Star in Canada here has chimed in saying nuclear war would turn Canada into one of the worst places on the planet. And scientists fear we are inching closer, which is very, very scary. Now, of course, you got a meme here that gained a lot of attention, almost the exact amount of likes from the original post saying, 15 wars, 0 assassination attempts from all these former presidents, and then Justin Trudeau, Jesus, Donald Trump, 0 wars, 1 assassination attempt. And I think a lot of people are realizing that warmongers are just adding more fuel to the fire, which is very, very scary. And it's a very real possibility. I think a lot of people aren't really comprehending as a real threat. They think, it's just fear mongering. At some point, when someone is pushed into a corner, the way that people are experiencing in the Middle East right now, it is becoming very more real that this escalation could take place. And to expand a little bit on the Toronto Star's post, they said the resulting nuclear winter could kill off 95 to 100% of the population. Ottawa, in the unlikely but unfortunately not impossible event of nuclear war, Canada would be one of the worst places on earth to live, or rather to die. And the rest of the article is unfortunately behind a paywall, which is very, very frustrating. But nonetheless, it is what it is. And this article here really made me turn my head a couple of times. The Hill said Biden, Harris, and Donald Trump should issue a joint statement on the risks of World War III, which is a very interesting take. In an election year of unprecedented shocks, a historic positive event could help alleviate the fraught international situation. A joint bipartisan statement by the candidates on America's fundamental national security principles. An affirmation that politics stop at the water's edge could not come at a more opportune time, which might be a very interesting tactic. And the article expands, so on and so forth. Feel free to go ahead and take a look at this. But just to expand a little bit more on this theoretical situation where if the current Sleepy Joe President Biden and the replacement from the coup Harris and the former president and hopefully future president Donald Trump did issue a joint statement, I could see that going 2 different ways. The first, the entire world realizes, oh wow, okay, we've never seen this type of solidarity from any type of presidential candidates and current presidents, sitting presidents right now in the history of ever. Like that would send shockwaves around to everybody going, okay, we need to start taking this a little bit more seriously. This isn't just headlines anymore. This isn't just Fugazi. This is real. If America is taking it that real, where they put their differences aside and they come together and they say, hey, let's cut the shit. Let's stop this right now. That is one option. The other option I see is it shows a sign of weakness. It shows a sign of weakness that, okay, America is so scared and the West is so scared that they are pretending to put their differences aside, and they are going through the motions to try and issue these global warnings that all three of them, current president and two presidential candidates, are coming together and going, look, we need to stop it. And that could send a message across the world to all enemy countries, all enemy territories, going, America has never been weaker. They've never done anything like this. Now is the time to strike. And I mean, that's just off the top of my head. There isn't really more thought put into that than I have right now, but let me know what you guys think. How would that look if something like this did happen? If Biden, Harris, and Trump did issue a joint statement on the risks of World War III? Maybe there are other options that I haven't thought about of how it would be received, but I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, that is where we're going to end this video. On your way out, I would like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.